Thanks for staying with us. So with us is Professor Sidi Osho. She's a successful scientist whose achievements have propelled her into several leadership positions nationally, internationally for the last 40 years. She also has an award-winning, outstanding and hardworking agriculture and higher education expert. Welcome with us, Professor Sidi Osho in the building.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Whatever I just said is like not even 0.0000%
well,
your profile. I mean, yes. we're all just consumed by the amount of work you have done as a professor. And I was saying, actually, a small stature, small but mighty. But it's a pleasure to have you on the show, man.
Thank you very much.
I know that you're the chairman of the 90th Anniversary of St. Teresa's. We'll talk about that a bit later.
Yes. Okay.
Tell us give us a bit about the journey, because one of the reasons why we bring women like you on the show on Wednesdays is to inspire people, to let us know how we can also achieve. Because today, young people are consumed by wealth, fame, popularity, exposure. That's all they want. But the role of a professor, academics, the kind of work you've done is not so attractive anymore. You know, people think, oh, I don't want to be, but here you are. You accomplished. Tell us a bit about your journey. Because you're a food scientist and you've been a Vice Chancellor for quite a number of years.
Yes.
And tell us a bit about your journey into education and how you arrived at this position.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. And I'm happy that it's women that are interviewing me. I have a very special niche for women. I think it's an opportunity for women to shatter the glass ceiling and identify with success. First, my journey started in All Saints Church School in Jericho, where I did my primary school. Then I went to St. Teresa's College, and I did my secondary school in Okeado, Ibadan. And I proceeded to Michigan State. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in Michigan State University, and then I did Ohio State University for my master's. Then I did University of Ibadan in 1993 for my PhD. After that, I started work with IIT, International Institute of Tropical Agriculture in Ibadan. That's where my real career started. And then from there, I went to teach. In fact, it's the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture that exposed me to an African network of research. And my research was on soybean. Then from there, I went to Olabisi Onabanjo University, and then I became Vice Chancellor in Afe Babalola University. In fact, I was the pioneer Vice Chancellor. And that university is outstanding. And it's one of the best universities in Nigeria, private universities. And I commend Afe Babalola for giving me that foundation to, run the school. And after that, I did my sabbatical leave with National Open University because I was interested in distance learning education and online learning education. Then after that, I set up my own NGO, Sidi Osho Foundation. I was called by the Ogun State government to help with education, so I was special advisor. I was also a commissioner for a short while. Then I resigned to face all the responsibilities that I have.
Interesting.
Yes.
So you've cut your teeth a bit in the educational sector. Let me throw a few education concerns to you, because especially in our universities, you're a Vice Chancellor for a private university. What do you think we can do to resolve this continuous issue we have with ASU and federal government? Why is such a perennial issue that's refused a proper solution?
This industrial action is embarrassing for everybody. And like I always said when I was a Vice Chancellor, when we had beginning of sessions to speak to our lecturers, I always reminded them that you are in the four walls of a university because of a framework, and the framework is the center core of the institution is the students. If there are no students, there's no university. If there are no students, there's no lecturers. If there are no students, there are no support services, even in the university. And so every time you have that at the back of your mind, you need to shelf your ego to know that you are impacting life, you are improving the quality of life and educational attainment of those students. It should be your fundamental care. Vis-a-vis that, you want to look at government policies. Our government policies are not stable, and it has, left a bad taste in the mouth of ASU. Every time they draw up agreements, they don't uphold it.
Yeah.
And that I think this industrial action is as a result of government not upholding the 1999 agreement. And you can imagine from 1999 to date, it's a long overdue. And so, and at the same time, the Nigerian lecturers are the most poorly paid in the world. Their salaries and professors are nothing to write home about. And when we continue to live in the same country with the same inflation rate, you need to address that. As a person, as a lecturer, you have families, you have children, you also want to explore better opportunities for yourself, you go to the same market. The federal government must do something about that. And so, from my point of view, I think the ASU should also concede for government. They're making several efforts, they're setting up so many committees, and I think they should concede and go back to class as to support the students that they are, impacting knowledge on. And I think government should also pay ASU. This work no pay rule should be reviewed. Right. I mean, when somebody has not been paid for the last 6 months, you can imagine what it does to his accounts, to his financial commitments, to his family. And so I think, for them to go back to class, I think the federal government should just give them 50% of it, let them go back to class, and then let the negotiation continue. Yes.
So you did your PhD in UI?
Yes, University of Ibadan.
One of the grievances ASU has is that, universities have continued to dilapidate infrastructure-wise, and a lot of reinvestment, as expected, are not met by government. How would you say you saw UI at the time when you did your PhD, as compared to the past glory that,
Well, when I did my PhD, University of Ibadan was a world-class institution. But my PhD was funded by Ford Foundation. And as a result, I had funding to put, some reagents in the laboratories for the kind of work I was doing. Right. At the same time, the federal government has tried on their own part. They set up the TED Fund. And the TED Fund's role is to look at infrastructural development in institutions. And so if you go to a university, you see TED Fund building by Senate, library. So they take care of the infrastructural development. They take care of even some research grants are available for academics to do their research. So I wouldn't say the government has not done anything, but, when we look at the needs, of the institution, and then government also does what we call a selective team. So it's not as if they go around all the institutions at once. We have about 48 federal institutions, and we also have state institutions. And so even these negotiations, I'm not sure whether states will be able to afford it. And so I think the state government institutions should not even be part of this challenge, this strike at all, because state governments need to...
I'm actually pleased that you mentioned the TED Fund. As soon as you mentioned it, my ears perked up, because it's something that has been a cause of debate, especially on social media, where a PhD student abroad was talking about the cost of education in Nigeria, vis-a-vis what you would get in many other parts of the world. And the fact that our lecturers here have access to grants, unlike primary and secondary school teachers. Now, with all of these on ground, there's this argument about what if primary and secondary school teachers decide to also go on strike, since they don't get even half of the benefits university lecturers get. And so it's actually caused a lot of back and forth. So then I ask you, a child needs a good background. You need a solid foundation from primary school. You need a solid foundation in secondary school before you can even face the rigors of the university.
Yes.
So why do you think this isn't being spread across board? Because now, primary and secondary school teachers, I spoke with a few of them recently, and they feel cheated. And that's the truth. They feel cheated. And they say, oh, wow, university
lecturer. They're not that...
Every
discrimination.
Is it not
they are teaching?
No,
it's not everybody is a teacher.
Ask the professor. Do you know how many books she has to read to get? How many books?
Do you know how many books a primary and secondary school teacher has to read?
They also teach the
They'll come for me. They'll come for me.
We teach the teachers.
Exactly.
So when you look at all of these now, you ask yourself, why is it that even the primary school teachers, the secondary school teachers are not being given certain concessions? I appreciate the fact that is being done for university lecturers, but what about the foundational teachers?
Okay, first, I would like to identify with the federal government policy on education. And when you look at the federal government policy on education, it's connected to the state delivery system. And so when you look at a primary school, either private or public, it is located in a state. And so the state is responsible to deliver the teaching and learning experiences, both for the teachers and for the students. Now, the federal government has identified unity schools, which are federal secondary schools that, students can go to. But at the same time, you want to know that government has a role to play. But the state governments are the ones that are, giving, what they say, the house those institutions. And so the policy is that they give a lot of learning, but there is a lot of opportunity, even at the state level, for training and retraining of teachers. And so I think teachers themselves should take advantage of it. The only concern I have is that when you are in the classroom, there's what we call an assessment. There is need to do a thorough assessment of the person delivering the learning experiences, because some of them are archaic, some of them are outdated, some of them are not impacting even knowledge or even adding value. And so I think that there is a need for that in terms of total assessment, so that people are up on their toes as to their responsibility to their students.
Let me talk about education tourism for a second, because we lose quite a bit of our great hands. They travel abroad for education, and aside from that, it's even taking out our forex. We don't have people who really want to import maize and corn and do stuff. They can't do that because people are taking all our dollars to go and pay for school fees abroad. But the point is that many successful doctors, medical doctors abroad, we say they had their foundation here. And school, obviously, medical school is cheaper. It's like the cheapest here because they pay through their nose over there. So how do we block this hole? What can we do to stop this educational tourism that Nigeria is bleeding every day?
Well, educational tourism occurs all over the world, and is a two-way street. I always ask myself that question. How many foreigners are attracted to our universities? How many foreign students do we have in our universities?
We used to.
We used to, but that tells you the decadence. And so the quality of education and the stability in education determines why somebody wants to invest in that institution. I mean, this strike has been on for 6 months. I can tell you parents are lamenting. Why? Those that can afford it will definitely look for definite alternatives to train their children. Why do you have to do a 4-year course and spend 7 years? At the end of the day, you are going to be in the job market. You are even you are asking yourself, my classmates have graduated from other institutions, from all over all other parts of the world at 4 years ago, and now you are here 3 years after you graduate. You are going to do youth corps, and then you start looking for a job. And so I think the educational tourism will continue to occur as long as the public institutions are not up to date with their quality. They're not up to date with their infrastructure. They're not up to date in looking for opportunities. And like I said, it's a two-way street. I think federal institutions to open their doors for people to come in from other countries, not only for admission, to also do exchange to help you teach in your institutions. That exposes the institutions to what we call a criticism. So when somebody comes from the United States and is sitting in a faculty, and you sees all the faculty and see how it's being run, they will be able to write a document and live with the Vice Chancellor that, well, this is my experience. I've worked here for 1 year, and I think there should be improvements. But as long as there's this strikes and the poor salary structure for lecturers, the tourism will continue. No parent wants their child to sit at home and be wasting their quality life.
You want to go on break?
Let's go on, Teresa, but go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, so your profile carries that you were proud to marriage and do, so I know you're married. And I'm wondering, with all this that you had to do for 40 years, how did the home survive?
It did survive.
Academic growth, pursuing your career, pursuing your dreams, traveling around, and all of that. Their children from the marriage, how did they survive it? Did anything give?
Well, let's just agree that as an individual, you need to be focused on what you want to do for your life. Because even when you are married, you need to identify your personality. You need to have a legacy for your own children in your own, line of being the mother. They say women are very good managers. They are also the best managers in the home. They know how to juggle. They know how to manage their time, manage their children. Even when you have a lot of responsibilities, they know how to give attention even to their families. I have had a lot of family support, I must say, and I'm excited that it has allowed me to, prosper in my line of career. My husband is also in academics, so he can understand the commitment level in academics.
Fantastic. So I know you're the chairman of the 90th anniversary committee of St. Teresa's College. I'm thinking 90 years. How old is Nigeria? We are 50. We're not 60 now. Nigeria is not yet 60 years old.
No, we're 60.
63.
60.
Sorry, 63. I think we're 60.
62.
62.
Yeah.
And St. Teresa is 90 years old.
Yes.
Before independence, you have started, your school has started. Tell us about St. Teresa's.
St. Teresa's High School then was started in 1933, and it started in Lagos in Broad Street. And it was it's a Catholic school. It was started by the education section of the Catholic school that is called Teresa, St. Teresa. And so that is where we got our name, and their official color is brown and white. And so you can see me in my brown and white St. Teresa's uniform. Now, the school now moved to Ibadan in 1945, and then we became St. Teresa's College, Ibadan. This school has the great foundation of discipline, character, academic excellence, and skills and learning for the girl child. It's an all-girls school, and we are so lucky to have been mentored and trained by the OLA sisters in the convent. I'm always proud to talk about one person that stands out so much for us. She was our teacher, Sister Agnes Azan. She was our teacher, she was our principal, and now she's the chairman of the St. Teresa's All Girls Association. Wow. She's 85 years old, and she has continued to mentor us up till date. The school is growing very well. In 1985, the government took back the school from missionaries, and now separated it into GSS and SS. So we have two schools in one as opposed to one before. Okay. But even then, by 1981, the alumni, which is the STOGA, and we started giving back to the school. We helped with counseling, we helped with infrastructural development, we helped with giving them computers, improving the laboratories. And for us, the celebration starts now. We have started this celebration now, and to kickstart it in September 15, we are having the tree planting day, which is a climate change awareness campaign. We are doing this in collaboration with the UNDP, and I want to use this opportunity to invite all the alumni, all ex-Teresians from all over the world to come and join, to rehabilitate the school, to bring it to the state of its glory, and of course, look forward to a very great 90th anniversary program, which is in January 30th, because the school was founded in January 31st, and then up to 4th of February next year. So, but we have started the kickoff now, and so we are starting with the climate change awareness program in the school, and it brings us together a lot, and it helps us to connect and with the school to live lifetime achievements for improved educational standard, make it a world-class educational school, and also help us to engage with the students, the stakeholders, the Parents Teachers Association, the government. I heard
that there are some alumni, really popular alumni from that school.
Popular. I'll start with the late ones, and may their souls rest in peace. Mrs. Stella Obasojo, the wife of the past president, was an alumni. Mrs. Okoje, also a late Mrs. Okoje, the wife of the past NUC executive secretary. But apart from that, we have great ones. We have Sylvia Halim, a member of the board. We have Amenechi, Mrs. Ophelia Amenechi. Then we have Abike Dabiri Erewa, also a past experience. Yeah. We have Teju, Olaoluwa in the UK. We are spread all over the world, and we have quite a lot of people. We have Funke Jegede, we have Yemisi Ibrahim, Funke Alugni.
Right.
We have a lot of important people. We are in all walks of life. We are doctors, lawyers.
Fantastic.
And we are so happy that we want to be back to our school. Thank you.
When we talk about women, I'm actually very passionate about women.
No, I'm glad you are.
And when we talk about girls' school,
yes.
these days people are wary of sending their children to girls' school.
Oh boy!
So it's actually quite good to have a school that is still upholding its values.
Oh, definitely.
After all of this years.
Okay, well done. That's all we can take. Thank you so much, madam, for joining us this morning.
Much.
We
Thank
just wish
you
you a
very
very
much.
great celebration.
Thank you.
And it's going to break now. When we come back, bringing our next guest. Stay with us. We'll be right back.